So now, the next part of the game is we do wall market. It is time, if you've never paid this much attention before, it is time to actually have our mind blown. Alright? Let me ask you guys a question. What is Eris's name? And how do you spell it? If you were to consult the manual, it might tell you that her name is Eris with an S. So that's Eris's name, right? However, in all of the and in this game, when you are given the prompt to name Eris, it's with an S. In all other localizations of the game, her name is Aerith with a TH, but in this game, and in the manual, and when you get the prompt to name her, her name is Eris with an S. However, we skipped the part of the game where we named her, and this causes a very strange side effect. When we run up into Wall Market, we don't know who Eris is. We haven't gotten her in our party. We never named her. And the game never did its logic to, like, create her in the party. And so she actually gets generated right now. And when that happens, her name is Aerith. That's, like, her default coded name in this part. So that is why when you watch any percent speedrun of this game, Eris's name is always Aerith. And it's because we skipped the naming. And for some reason, when the game puts her puts her into your party here, that's the name that it gives her. But there's more weird stuff. Here's the other deal. Normally, when you get Eris in your party, her level is based on Cloud and Barrett's level, and maybe Tifa's as well. Her level is, like, based on the average level of the party when you get her in your party. However, because we skipped that code, she actually enters our party at level 1. So we get a level 1 Eris named Aerith for doing guard skip. Alright, so it is now time to do the dress quest. Here's the deal about the dress quest, is there are many things you can do for this part, but there are only a couple items that we actually need. What we need is the diamond tiara from the guy in the materia shop, we need the sexy cologne from the lady in the bathroom in the bar, and we need the silk dress, which we get for taking the second option on both of the dialogue options. We never need to enter Honeybee Inn, or anything like that, and so here we go. It is time to do the dress quest as quickly as possible. So the very first thing you need to do is ask this guy about Tifa. And so this is kind of a weird scene. It's kind of hard to talk to this guy a little bit, but here's the trick. Here's what you do. When you load into the room, be buffering right until you bonk into this guy, and then go up. So just right until you bonk into the Shinra guy, then go up. And when Cloud bonks into this from going up, if you press circle, you talk to the guy. And so that's the fastest, easiest, most reliable way to do it. Right, up, circle. That'll talk to the guy. Super quick, super easy. For him, the dialogue option is the top option, so don't worry about the dialogue option, just mash through. After you ask him, though, you get 4 text boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's when you can start running right. It's very bad to talk to him more than once, so you need to be careful not to overmash, because you'll get into extra dialogue and stuff. So that's why I always kind of count it. So it's right, up, circle. After you hear the selection, 1, 2, 3, 4. Run left out of here. And then we need to go all the way up to Don Corneo's mansion. Do your best not to hum along to the soundtrack, but it's impossible not to. Alright, so just got to talk to this guy, and this is what actually initiates the dress quest. So this is just mash through this, but now we are on the quest. Alright, so the order of doing all of these things, not all of this is exact, but this is the fastest way. So the first thing to do is buffer down right to get into the materia shop here, and talk to the materia shop guy first. just mash through it, and what mashing through it does is you ask him about the quest, you say that you'll go. As Eris runs into you, you can leave, and then buffer down left and come around and go into the restaurant, buffer up left to get over to the chair here. Now, here's the first very important selection. So you just mash, but once you see Cloud eating, that's when there's a selection coming up that is very, very important. It is mandatory. So nothing matters until you see Cloud make the eating animation. There it is. Now we need to take the second option. You must tell them it was all right. And if you do, 1, 2, 3, 4 text boxes later, you get a pharmacy coupon. As you leave, you can bring that directly to the pharmacy here. This is another very important choice. After 3 text boxes here, he's going to give you a choice where you pick the third option. So it's very easy. 3, 3, you know. 1, 2, 3 dialogue boxes, and then third choice, digestive. Then you're done there. Coming down here, you want to go into the inn next. And be careful not to talk to this guy, because if you don't have to press circle, if you just accidentally bump into this guy, he talks to you. It's only 2 dialogue boxes, but still, it's annoying. So make sure you kind of give him some space here. And then run up to the inn, stay the night. Right after you choose to stay, though, immediately, second option right here, you want to buy the expensive one for 200. All right, and after you've bought the expensive thing, that was for the materia shop guy. And then in order to not get guyed here, you go straight right, and then go up. And then now, so now we have the expensive thing for the materia shop guy, and we have the digestive for the person that's in the bar. We've got both of those things that we need. And now there's another thing that's going to happen in the bar as well. And in order to prepare that, we got to go into the clothes shop as we come up. So I just buffer up, right, run, and mash circle to talk to this guy as quickly as possible. Holding run there is actually kind of important later, and I'll show you why. This is all just mash through it and then leave. All right, now do not forget, as we make our way up here, go back into the materia shop and talk to this guy again. I would recommend saying out loud to yourself that you are getting the diamond tiara right now. Otherwise, you'll forget that you got it. If you're like me, at least. I always forget whether I've done this. But you have to. All right, and then it's up to the bar. And so in the bar, we're going to both order the silk dress and get the sexy cologne. It is now time for another fun trick. Now, if you are very afraid of soft locking, you're just starting the running, you don't have to do this. The 2 things that you have to do in the bar here are you got to talk to this guy. And after some dialogue here, he's going to say, all right, what kind of dress do you want? Right here, what kind of dress do you want, right? And you need to choose the second option both times. So, soft, shimmers. Second option both times. Then, you got to come up here and open the door to the bathroom and just mash through, and you'll give this lady the digestive that you got earlier. She gives you sexy cologne. And now you have to wait a million years while you're paralyzed, while she walks out, and then there we go, and then you leave. And that's what you do, right? However, you can save some time here. By doing a little trick, we can skip that whole paralysis of her leaving in order to do bar skip. Remember the paralysis dodge from Jesse earlier? We're going to do that again. So here is how you do it. First thing to do is go all the way to the back. And now here's the deal. Make sure as you're running up into the door, release run before you press circle. Every time that you do this, and every time that you talk to this person. And the reason is that, remember I talked about how if there's not enough space for Cloud to run, but there is space for him to walk, but you're trying to run, he just doesn't try. So there's this gap. There's this gap between him and the door right now that is his running, that is less than 1 frame of him running, but it's a gap. Sometimes the ability to talk to a character like the hitbox, you could say, of your ability to interact with somebody is somewhere in that gap. Like being like we're too far away from them right now, but we can't get closer because it's less than running. And so what you'll run into is you'll press circle and it won't do anything. So instead, you release run and you'll see Cloud. Oh, this time he didn't do it because we're already close enough. If you release run first, you'll walk up into the door, and that will make sure that you're close enough. And that will prevent a soft lock later. First thing to do is talk to this person, but don't clear this text box. Because you'll notice there's a text box here, but we can still move. So then, if we come down here with this text box still up, and we clear this text box while we talk to this guy, you'll notice paralysis went away. There's a paralysis dodge right there for us. And so, if we take our paralysis dodge and we close the door up here, and all you do to close the door is you just run up to it and then you run away from it. That's all you do. It closes the door. And then stand down here somewhere underneath this awning. Now, mash specifically until he says a tough-looking guy like that. So after Eris says, I wanted a cute dress for him, clear that text box and then get into position. Once again, run up and then release run so that you make sure that you're as close to the door as possible. And when you see this text box, what? A tough-looking guy like that? Press circle to both clear that text box and open this door as well. Then, before hitting circle again, come down here and talk to this guy. You see that there is this guy at the table right here? Go down here and hit circle once to talk to this guy. And then run back up here and start, and once again, run up, but then release X so that you walk up so that you make sure you're going to talk to this lady instead of just... Because if you just start mashing circle right here, for example... Uh-oh, I fucked it up because I closed the door because I wanted to make that point. If you started pressing circle down here, you would end up soft-locking yourself. And so it's got to be... you got to press it correctly. Except I screwed it up this time. Alright, so this is what happens if you don't do it correctly. See, I closed the door, and now Eris is stuck running to me. This is why, if you're just starting out, you might want to, you might want to not do this trick, but it is very easy. So, let's go a little bit quicker this time. I'll go through everything that I just said again. So once again, it is, you start by running up, and then up left, you get back here, release X, hit circle to open the door, just once though. Circle just once to talk to this guy, use your paralysis dodge to get up here, close the door by running up to it and then away from it. Mash until she says, wanted a cute dress for him. And then tough looking guy like that, both open the door and close that. Talk to this guy by hitting circle once, run all the way back up to her and release X, and then this is where I screwed up. So now, mash circle until you give her the medicine. So mash and circle, and then it pops up, give her medicine. Boom, we did it. Once you've done that, you can leave. Or you not leave the room, though. You run all the way down here, and then you can clear this text box, which will get you the options for the dress. So one down, one down. Then you get these two boxes at once. Make sure that they both type out all the way so that when you clear both of them, not just the one that's typed out. Then Eris will run into you, and we lose paralysis again. And now very, very, very importantly, do not clear this text box about the sexy cologne. That will trigger the lady to leave, and you'll be paralyzed. You just leave the room at this point because you have the sexy cologne, so you just leave. All right. So once again, at speed, run in, come on back here, open door with circle, talk to guy with circle. I clear this text box as I run up, just to save a little bit of time. Close the door, mash until cute dress for him, run up here, Open door with that text box, talk to this guy once, run back up, mash circle until we give her the medicine, run down, clear this text box, boom, boom, clear those text boxes, buffer down and right. And that's how you do it, like, at speed, basically. That's the quick way. So, once again, one more time, this is bar skip. So essentially, this isn't... I think skip is kind of a misnomer here. You're not actually skipping anything. You're just doing both of the conversations at once. I guess if you're skipping anything, what you're skipping is having to wait for the lady to walk out the door. Because that takes forever. Remember, it's the second option on both of those. It has to be. All right, and there you go. So we got both the sexy cologne and we ordered the silk dress. Now, the last thing we need to do is go and pick up the dress. So now this calls back to what I was saying earlier, where remember I said that when you come in here, you buffer up, right, run, and mash circle? So the reason for that is because this is a cutscene that's actually different whether you were holding run or not when you started the cutscene. Notice right now, Cloud is going to run into the dressing room. If you aren't holding run when you initiate this cutscene, so right now I wasn't holding run, now check it out. Cloud walks to the dressing room, meaning it takes 4 times longer. So, very interesting thing. There's a lot of parts in this game where if you're holding X while you initiate a cutscene, then Cloud's movement during that cutscene will be running instead of walking, and it saves a bunch of time. So this is one of the more important ones. Be buffering or be holding X as you start this conversation so that Cloud runs into the dressing room. And there you go. Now it's time to go do squats. So at this point, we run straight up to the Gaim. And in the Gaim, if you go straight up and talk to this guy, there you go. So it is time to do squats. The way that I remember how to do this, there are 2 dialogue choices here, and they're both pretty important, especially the second one. Both times you choose the second option. So try to ignore chat telling you that it's a picture of Zach on the ring there. And what you do is you mash basically until you see big text boxes with PlayStation symbols. That is your cue that the first choice is coming. So it's all mashing until PlayStation symbols. There they are. So PlayStation symbols. And now you choose the second option just to make it so that he doesn't explain everything again. And now you're going to get a bunch of small text boxes, and the cue to know when your next selection is the big text box. So a couple small ones. Now here's the big one. So this one you also need to go to the second option. This one's way more important, because if you pick a little, you are forced into 30 seconds of squat practice. So you must choose the second option here to skip the practice. Now, here's the deal about squats. This is kind of hard to show at full speed, but how it works is when Cloud is in this position, you press square. When he's in this position, you press X. When he's in this position, you press circle. Back to this position, square. This position, X. This position, circle, right? And you might try to, like, time it. However, how many of you have played Guitar Hero 3? You know how in Guitar Hero 3, you can just buffer hammer-ons and pull-offs as early as you want, as long as it was sometime after the previous note, and once it gets to you, it goes off? You can buffer it as early as you want, and then once the position hits that you were supposed to time it on, it accepts it. Squats are the same way. So what that means is at the start you hit square, but once you hit square, you immediately start holding X. And then once you hear the whew of it accepting the X, you immediately start holding circle. And then once you hear the whew of it accepting the circle, you immediately start holding
Square.
And so to see that in action, right? After you hit circle, it's an immediate square, and then you immediately start holding X, and then each time you buffer the next input. So circle square, and then you see how every time I'm buffering the input. And what this means is your squats are going to be frame perfect every time. You're going to get maximum squats every time. Which, depending on some sort of RNG that I'm not familiar with exactly how it works, sometimes you can get 20 and sometimes you can get 21. Let's watch that back in slow motion. You see how you can kind of see in slow motion here how every time I'm buffering each button input early. Yeah? So it's boom, button change. Boom, button change. It accepts it, button change. It accepts it, button change. It accepts it, button change. You see that pattern there? So that's how you do squats. You buffer every one of the inputs preemptively. As soon as it accepts the input that you've been buffering, you switch to buffer the next one. And there you go. That's how you do perfect squats every single time. That gets you the blonde wig. And then at this point, we just go back to the dress shop and we dress back up. So this time going back into the dress shop, the buffer that you can do is just up and run. If you just hold up and run, you'll go straight back to the dressing room. And now you just mash until you're dressed up. And so, as usual, talking about the last line of dialogue, right? The last line is when Eris says, "You're no fun." So when she says this, just be buffering down, right, and run as you clear it. Or just at any time where she's walking to you, and that buffer will exit the room quickly. And then you run straight up to the mansion. And you've done it. So, I suppose I never talked about the overall reason for doing everything with the dress quest that we did. The reason is so that Don Corneo picks Cloud. If he picks Eris or Tifa, your run is basically dead, because it's very slow and it takes a bunch of fighting and grenades and stuff. I mean, you could fight through them without using your grenades, but it's a bad time. You need Don Corneo to pick Cloud. That's how we get him to pick Cloud, is by doing all of those events in that sequence. All right. So now it's a little tricky to get onto these stairs. What I do is this guy says one thing and he says another thing. So after his second thing that I mash through, I start buffering down, right, and run. And then you clear this one text box of Eris's by hitting circle. And then what I do is the buffering down, right, and run runs Cloud down like this. And once he gets onto this dark line right here, I start holding L. And or you can switch to just right, but, I like to start holding L, because that feels a little bit more precise. And that will, without emulator delay, that'll get him right onto the stairs. And then once you're up to about here, you can just hold left the whole rest of the time. All the way into this cutscene trigger. So there you go. And then we've just got some dialogue to mash through. Pay attention to the dialogue, though, because when Eris here says right, Cloud, and then this part, you're gonna have to go talk to Tifa. So I buffer up left out of this, and then just left, talk to Tifa as quickly as possible. Then it's just a whole bunch of mashing. The kind of the cue to know that you're almost done is when the camera pans over to the dude. So here we go. It goes over to him. So now when it comes back, there's just a few more things left. Cloud says one thing. Tifa says one thing. Eris says one thing. So be buffering left and run at this point to go pick up that ether as quickly as possible. So to ask, boom, grab the ether, and then go right. So just left to the ether, just right. And now here is where there's a great divide of what kind of person you are. So buffer upright and then right to get in here. Do you go to the left of Don Corneo's desk, or do you go to the right? This is the great question. Me? I'm a righty. I go to the right of his desk. Either way works, though. And now, it's just a bunch of mashing. until you're out of this cutscene. So now this next room, though, you got to pay a little bit more attention to. So first, he's got 2 dialogue options, or 2 dialogue boxes, right? Just 2 dialogue boxes. And then at this point, I would recommend, you can skip this if you want, it's just for money. I like to take it. If you run back here behind his bed, there's a hyper back here, which is just fantastic, by the way. So now, when you run over to him, you need to take the second dialogue option both times, and each time it's after 1 dialogue box. So you talk to him, it's 1 dialogue box, second option, 1 dialogue, second option. And now, it's just mashing. There's another choice down here where he asks you, like, why bad guys are always so confident or whatever. But you just pick the top option. It doesn't matter. Oh, you have to run down, though. I forgot about that part. When they run down, you got to run down. He sends him away. And then when he has his solo dialogue box, this is when it's time to get ready. All right?